All right, so first thing we usually want to do when we're starting any show file, after we've set up our network and done the things that like we've done, like we pulled in our stage environment and stuff like that, we need to patch some fixtures. So first thing we're going to do is go into the patch menu. To get to patch, if you were in lecture this morning, this is a review. If not, if you haven't seen that yet, just follow along. We're going to the setup button here, which opens up our setup menu. And for patch and fixture schedule, we're going to come up here to the top on the left-hand column. Patch and fixture schedule and click that. When we click this for the first time, it's automatically going to pop up with this text box asking us to name the layer. So the way that the GrandMA organizes the patch is by layer. These layers can be whatever you like. It's basically just an organizational tool for you. Most people will do their layers by either fixture type or maybe location, hanging location. For us, we're going to use fixture type. So that's how we're going to organize our layers. So first layer we're going to do, we look onto our tutorial. Again, we're on page 7. And if we look down here, the first step we need to do, which we named our layer, first set of fixtures for us, it's kind of, you need to scroll down a little bit to actually see what fixtures we're doing. At the top of page 10 is where the table is for all these fixtures we're adding. I'm going to lead you through it. So the first set of fixtures in that table is going to be our Viper washes. So we're going to name this first layer Viper wash. Okay, so when we create a layer, it's automatically going to take us into the fixture wizard here. Left-hand side is where we could enter some information, but we need to do another step first. On the right here is where we select our fixture profile. So the fixture profile is going to determine how much control we have over the light and how those different attributes or parameters are arranged within that DMX footprint. So we know that a fixture, if it's an intelligent or an automated fixture, it's going to have, you know, more than one channel. If we're dealing with an incandescent fixture, it's just going to be a dimmer, run off a dimmer, so it's one channel. But for us, we have all automated lighting mostly, so it's going to be more than one channel per fixture. And this is where we're going to select, you know, which profile we want to use based on which mode we're running the fixtures in. Each fixture could also be run in a different mode, generally, or several different modes, which has more or less control over the light. The reason we do that, we have those different modes is because obviously we have a certain amount of DMX space in our universe. We have 512 channels we have on each universe. Well, if you only have one universe of DMX and you have, you know, a certain amount of lights that are a certain amount of channels, you may go for a lower mode to get more lights into that universe, or you want more control, so more channels if you have the room. So we'll see how that looks in the table, but first step for us, we need to go to the internal library on the console to find our fixture types. The software comes with pre-built fixture profiles for almost all fixtures that are widely used. So we'll go to the library. So click from library. All right, so this is our fixture type window. And in this window, we have a drop down at the top that shows you which drive you're looking at. You want to make sure that that says internal because the fixture library is on the internal drive, or it's stored onto the console, or in our case, into the software on our computer. So we want to use the internal drive. You could select your thumb drive or a different drive if you were trying to pull a fixture profile from somewhere else. But internal is where we're almost always going to be for this. We also have two text boxes here. The one on the left is the manufacturer. So we can sort these by the manufacturer of the light, and we can also sort by the fixture or the name of the fixture. So for us, we always want to type in as much information as we're given into these boxes to sort this table down as far as we can, because there's a good amount of lights in here. it would be not fun to just have to search through here. So use the filter up here as much as you can. For us, I'm going to scroll down. We're going to, most of the lights that we have, pretty much every light that we have, there's a couple of exceptions. At Live One is going to be Martin is the manufacturer. Okay. So Martin, we have mostly Martin lights. So we're going to type in Martin into the manufacturer field. For fixture, right now we're dealing with our Viper washes. So we're going to type in Viper wash. We have the just regular Viper wash. We don't have the Viper wash DXs on campus. We have the Viper wash. So it's going to be one of these first two. And if we look further to the right in mode, we see we have a 16-bit basic mode or a 16-bit extended mode. And we can see the corresponding DMX footprints here. So the basic mode only takes 18 channels, whereas the extended mode gives more control at 24 channels. So if we're running out of DMX space, we might go for the basic profile. For us, we're going to be using mostly the extended versions for all of our stuff because we have the room on the universes, so it gives us more control. So we'll click on Mac Viper Wash 16-bit extended. It should be 24 channels each. And then here at the bottom, once you select it, it will actually tell you which attribute is on which channel within that DMX footprint. So shutter is on the first channel, dimmer is on the second, blah, blah, blah. And you will see some dummy channels in here. This is kind of placeholders for certain things they're doing within the internal software of the light. This is just how the fixture profile is built by NA. So that's what's going on there. In the tutorial, it does tell you that there is a little note here on the top of page 8 talking about the mouse and the trackpad of how that works. I told you that screen, the extra screen here, where are we? The extra screen here to the right can either be used in 2 mode as soft keys for buttons that don't exist physically on the console anymore, or as a trackpad. And there are different modes you can use for the trackpad, and that's just talking about those modes there. So if I went to this is the section I'm talking about. So you have a mouse mode, you have a mouse wheel mode. You can turn the mouse trackpad off, or you can use it to actually control pan and tilt. I don't recommend that. It's not easy to use, but you could if you wanted to. So that's how you go through the different modes and what the text and the lights do, telling you which mode you're in. All right, so we see here we're on our Viper Wash extended. Let me go back to my software. Okay, so we've selected the profile we want. Once we do that, we're going to come down here in the bottom right and click on import, which will import that fixture type into our show file. Now we need to fill in all of the lights information. Before we do this step, we would want to determine by either looking at the plot or the paperwork whether these lights are all sequential or not, both by fixture ID or channel ID and by address. If they are, then we can add them at multiples at a time. However many are in sequential order for both the fixture ID and the DMX, and being on the same universe, we could add them all at once. For us, most of the time, ours are all going to be sequential. We've set it up that way. If it was not, you might have to add some of these individually or in multiple different sets of fixtures. So you just want to make sure you pay attention to that. If we're looking on our tutorial, we're in this window here on page 9. That's the information we're going to enter for the Mac Viper washes. Now, what we're actually entering is what's on this table on page 10. So if I look here in our first column, our first row, we've got Mac Viper washes, 16-bit extended, 24 channels each. We have 6 of them, and they are sequential, so we can start and add all 6 of those at one time. And we see here they start at fixture ID 201. They're on universe 2, and they start at address 1. So we're going to go enter all that information into the patch here. With the name field, the MA automatically tries to name it for you as just a really basic shorthand. So it's Martin Viper Wash 16-bit extended #1. I always like to change that to something that makes more sense to me. So I'm just going to put in Viper Wash 1. Whatever you like, you can put in there. But that is how it's going to be displayed when we open up the fixture sheet and we're looking at the table of lights. So something that you will know what that light is. You could even go Viper Wash 201, since we know that it's fixture ID 201. And when we do these in groups, it will automatically increment the number by 1 each time. Okay, we're adding 6 of these at once. Now we need to decide whether we're using a fixture ID or a channel ID. We'll never use both a fixture and a channel ID. It's one or the other. The difference is if we're using a dimmer, it's going to be a channel ID. If it's anything else, it will be a fixture ID. And you'll see why in one of the labs at the end of the month. We'll demonstrate why that is and why we have 2 different options. For us, we're always going to be using fixture IDs because all of our lights have more than 1 channel and are not run from a dimmer. So fixture ID, we start at 201. And again, it will increment these by 1. So 201 through 206 is what we're going to get. Channel ID we're not using, so it's going to be 0 or blank. For the patch break here, I think that Sean talked about this morning in the lecture, but the way this is read is there's 1 number, then there's a period, and then there's another 3-digit number. So that's going to be universe dot starting address in DMX. For us in our table, it's telling us that the patch break for these Viper washes is on universe 2, starting at address 1. So in here, we're going to type in 2.1 or 001. You don't have to put all the zeros. It knows what's going on. All right, so we've got our name here, starting at Viper Wash 201, which will increment. We're adding 6. Fixture ID starts at 201, which will go through 206. And our patch break starts on universe 2 at address 1. Once we're done entering the information here, we can hit apply. And now we can see we have our layers on the left side and what fixtures are contained within those layers on the right side. So if I select my Viper Wash layer, it's displaying over here. I have 6 Viper Washes, 201 through 206, and they have patched sequentially onto universe 2 by a footprint of 24. So 24 per fixture. Cool. All right, we move on to our next set of lights. So since we're on a new set of lights, we're going to start a new layer. To add a new layer, on the left side here, we're going to click on new. And you can either click on new and hit add layer here, or you can just right click if you're on the PC version in the new box here, which will open up the layer name box again. So in our table, we see the next set of fixtures here are Aura XBs. So we're going to name this layer Aura XB. Okay, it's a new type of fixture, so we need to go find the profile we need to use. So we're going to the library here, from library. Now the search boxes, remember where we were last time. So it's still masking down to Martin Viper Washes. We're still dealing with a Martin fixture, so we can leave that in the fixture field here. We're going to go and we're going to type in everything that's in the table. So in our table here, we see, okay, Mac Aura XB extended RGB. We should be dealing with the 25 channel profile. These are all going to be sequential. So there's only 1 row here. We're doing 10 of them starting at 301, universe 1, address 1. So we'll just keep that in our head for when we're ready for that. But here we're going to type in Mac Aura XB extended RGB. So if we type in all the information we're given, it narrows us down to one fixture type. DMX footprint is 25, which is what we're looking for. Now, something that's different with these fixtures is if we look next to the DMX footprint, we see another column that says instances. And this fixture, it says 2 instances. With these Aura fixtures and several of the other fixtures we have, there are actually multiple parts of the fixture that can be controlled within the same fixture ID. So say we're doing these Mac Auras, the fixture ID for the light is, well, for the first one, 301. Well, this light has 2 instances. So there's actually a 301.1 and a 301.2, which we're going to see. So each of these lights has a 0.1 and a 0.2 for fixture ID, because it has 2 different sets of functions on this light. So the 0.1 for these lights is going to be all of your main stuff, like your dimmer, your pan and tilt, the global functions of the light. The 0.2 is actually an effect on the light where we have a separate set of LEDs that light up the lens only. So I can actually color the lens of these lights, say orange, and have the beam of light coming out of the fixture be blue or whatever. So there's 2 different sets of controls there. So there's 2 instances of this fixture. So we're going to see when we get to the fixture sheet that it's going to have a 301.1, 301.2 down the line that way. Okay. So that's just what that means. It's a little bit different than our Vipers, which only have 1 instance. There's only one thing those lights, one set of functions those lights do, which is what most lights have. And so there's no points. It's just 201, 202. So we've got this fixture profile that we want. We're going to import. Back in the same fixture wizard window, we want to go ahead and give it a name, whatever you like. I'm going to do Aura XB 301 because that's what our lights are starting at. These are sequential, so we can add all of them at once, and it wants us to add 10. We have 10 of these in our lighting rig. We're starting with fixture ID 301. Again, these are automated lights, so fixture ID, not channel ID. Channel ID will stay at 0. And if we look in our patch break field here, the MA is going to take the last place where we patched something. So Universe 2 is where we patched our first set of lights, and it's going to give us the next available address that's open. This sometimes will work for you if you're dealing with the same universe and filling up all the space. It might work for you. If not, we can always change this. This is just the MA saying, hey, your next available address on Universe 2 is 145 if you want it. For us, we're patching these onto Universe 1 and starting at address 1. So 001 or just 1.1. Okay, we got all of our information in here. Let's go ahead and hit enter. Whoop, or apply, excuse me. So now here I can see I have 2 different layers on the left, my Viper washes and Aura XBs. And if I click on either one, I see the lights that are in there. Now in the patch, we see here that it's reading for the Auras 301.1, 302.1. It's not showing us the 0.2s in patch. It will in the fixture sheet when we open that up later. And we've patched everything sequentially on Universe 1. So we're good to go there. All right. The next line here, we have quantum washes that we're going to be putting in, new type of fixture. So we want to get a new layer. So right click on the new box here on the left or select it and hit add layer. These are our quantum wash. All right, new fixture type or fixture profile. So we're going to back to the library. All right, still dealing with Martin as the manufacturer. In our table here, we're going to read it and see everything that it tells us. So it's saying Mac, quantum wash. It tells us 16-bit in the table, but we're not going to type that in. Ignore the 16-bit and just type in extended, which leaves us with one option. In our table, it says it should be 33 channels in this profile, and we see here DMX footprint 33. Now with these fixtures, under instances, it says 5. So this fixture actually has 5 different parts to it that can be controlled. And again, just like the auras, those are going to be 0.1, 0.2, and then we're going to continue 0.3, 4, and 5 for each light. The reason we have 5 instances on this one is because it's sort of similar to a Mac Aura. It has the main fixture, which is the 0.1. It has the aura effect on the faceplate, which is where we color the faceplate a different color. So that's the 0.2. And this light also has rings of LEDs on the face. So there's different sectors or different little LED clusters on the face of this. And it actually is laid out in rings. So the 0.3, 0.4, and 0.5 of this fixture is to control those separate rings of LEDs outputting through the light. So the outer ring would be 0.3, the middle ring would be 0.4, and then the center cluster would be 0.5. So this light, 5 instances. All right, we're going to hit import here. For the name, we're going to give it a name that makes sense to us, Quantum Wash. And these fixtures, we have 2 of them. They're going in the 400 range and patch break 1.251. So we're just going to name, I'm going to name this Quantum Wash 401. We only have 2 of these. They're rather big. So we're typing in 2 here for quantity. Fixture ID is 401. Now you'll notice we're skipping a lot of fixture ID numbers. We're not putting them all in order. Most of the time when we're setting up our show and doing our paperwork and stuff, we're going to give fixture IDs either by location or by fixture type most of the time. And we're separating them into centuries. So every group of 100 numbers would be a separate fixture type, or maybe a fixture location, or whatever makes sense to you. Most of the time it's going to be by fixture type if you're going to see it out there. So we're jumping to a new century or a new set of hundreds each time we move to a different fixture type. So our Vipers we put on 200s, Auras 300s, Quantum Washes 400s, blah, blah, blah. We skipped the 100s because those are actually some conventional lights that are run by the Ion on campus. So they're not in our fixture, our show file. And also we skipped the 1 through 99 block, which is generally reserved for dimmers. So that's why we skip like that. That's just how we have it set up. All right, fixture ID starts at 401. No channel ID. Patch break, these are going at universe 1, starting at address 251. All right, we got all that information in. We're gonna hit apply. And we have now 2 quantum washes patched in that quantum wash layer. All right, for the next 2 lines in our table, we have something a little different. So we did our quantum washes here. Next 2 lines are both quantum profiles. They're both the same fixture type or fixture profile. Different quantities for each row. They're still going in order fixture ID wise. But if you look in the patch break column, you'll see that the first set is actually on universe 2. The second set is actually on universe 1. That's because some of these fixtures are in different hanging locations. So this first set of fixtures, the first 6, are actually on the downstage truss or the mid-stage truss as well, second electric. And also the other set of fixtures is on the upstage truss, which have different universes of DMX running to those locations. So we're splitting them out onto 2 different universes. Now, when we do this, we're going to do it in 2 steps, obviously, because this first set of 6 is we can do it once. Then we have to do the second set separately of the last 5 because they're on a different universe. But they're all going to go in the same layer because they're the same type of fixture. So if we're doing these in 2 steps in the same layer, first we want to create the new layer. These are quantum profiles. So now we want to deal with our first set, which is the first 6. So we're going to go to the library to find our profile here. They're still Martin fixtures. If we type in the information given, it is Mac quantum profile extended, which should be 27 channels in DMX footprint. And this one only has 1 instance. So there's just 1 set of controls for this light, and we can see what those are down here. So we'll import that fixture profile. We're going to name this, so same as we were doing before, quantum profile. Starting on 501 this time, since we're in a new set of fixtures types. And for the first set here, we're going to do 6 at one time. All right, so these start on fixture ID 501. No channel ID. Patch break, since it's still trying to give us universe 2 right now, 145, which actually works for us. That's where we're putting these, the first set of these. So 2.145 is where we're going. We'll go ahead and apply that. So we've added 6 fixtures into the quantum profiles layer. Now I have 5 more that I need to add into the same layer. So I'm just going to select the layer. Then on the right-hand side here, I see a new box under the fixture section. So I'm going to right-click on that new. Now, since I've already added the profile for these lights into the show file, I've already pulled it from the library. I don't have to go back into the library. You'll see here that it's logging all the lights that I have in my show already. So I can just come search down here for Mac Quantum Profile Extended, select that. Now in this set, we're keeping on going with number wise, fixture ID wise. So I'm going to name this the same thing and just start it at 507 since we added 6 the first time. This set, we're adding 5. It's auto-populating fixture ID to 507 because that's where we left off. That's what we want. For patch break this time, we're moving to universe 1. So we're going to need to change this to 1.317 is the starting address of those. Okay, then we'll hit apply and it will add those in to that same layer. So that's how you would do it if you need to do 2 different sets of lights within the same layer, and why we need to do it because they're split by either they're going to be split by fixture ID and not sequential, or they're going to be on different universes or different not sequential addresses. All right, so next line here we have our atomics. So this is a new set of fixtures, so a new layer. We'll name this atomic. Okay, we need to go find the profile for these from the library. Steele Martin as the manufacturer. And in the table, we have atomic 3000 LED extended. Should be 14 channels on the DMX footprint, which we see here. And you'll notice that the atomics, they have 2 instances. So they're going to have a 0.1 and a 0.2. For these are the strobe fixtures that we have. They are not moving lights, meaning that they are stationary focus units. So they just, we tilt them manually where they need to go and they stay there. They don't have pan and tilt controls. They're a strobe light. So what the two instances is the first one, the 0.1, is going to be dealing with the strobe portion of this light. So these have a very bright white strobe function, only white, even though it's LED. There's just a strip of really bright white LEDs in there for the strobe portion. The second instance is just like the auras or the quantum washes. They have the aura effect, where I can actually color the face of the strobe light into a color. So I could have, you know, a blue face plate color and, you know, the white strobe going at the same time. So there's two different sets of controls there. Import that. I'm going to name this atomic. We're going 601 for the atomics. Whoops. So we're in the 600s for these. We have 4 of these, and they're sequential, so we can add them all at once. Fixture ID, we're in 601. Starting fixture ID number and patch break. These are on universe 1, starting at address 452. All right, we'll hit apply. And we've added those 4 in. All right, last line here is our Kryptons. New layer for these. Now, I will warn you that we're still patching the Kryptons right now with the exercises, but we have actually replaced the Krypton fixtures in Live 1 with a different fixture. They're the Chauvet Intimidator 475Zs, which are awesome. They're LED moving head fixtures that are on the stage deck, upstage on the stage deck itself, which we will give instructions when we return to campus on how to convert those from Kryptons to Intimidators in your show file. But for now, we're still patching Krypton because we can't visualize the Intimidators in here in 3D because they're too new. So for the sake of you right now, we're still using Kryptons. Just know that when you go, if you go into Live 1 for some reason for a final show or anything like that, you won't be able to use the Kryptons because they're Intimidators. And if you were to do that, we would give you instructions to add them in and how to use them. But just note that that will change once we move over to Intimidators. All right, we need a new layer here. Krypton. Let's go find the fixture profile in the library. These are still Martin fixtures. And if we look in the table, we're going to type in MAC 250 Krypton. And this time we're just using the 16-bit version, not the extended, so it's the basic mode. So the first one here should be 14 as the DMX footprint. So select that, import, change the name to something that makes sense. These are in the 700s. So let's start with 701. We also have 4 of these. Fixture ID will be 701. We can add them all at once. They're sequential and they're on the same universe. And the universe is 2, starting at 307, which is what the console is suggesting. So we will leave that alone. Okay, apply that, and it adds those 4 in. Okay, that's the end of our table there for our patch. Those are all the fixtures we have in the rig. So now we want to go ahead and save these changes because, again, we went into patch and fixture schedule, not the live option, which I would always recommend going into this one unless you're in a live show situation, just so you have a chance to correct mistakes before they're applied. Because, again, in the live patch, it automatically applies these as you do it. For us, we're in just the patch and fixture schedule, so we have to leave and save our changes before this is applied. So to close the patch window, we're just going to click on the X up here. It's going to give us a pop-up window. Do we want to save the changes? Make sure you select yes if you want to save these changes, which we do. If not, you got to go back and do all this again. It will not save it. So make sure you click on yes. And once we click yes, it will send all of those objects and patches into the network to the show file. And now that we've added fixtures in, you'll notice your show file is going to be a lot bigger, so it might take longer to save and to sync MA3D in your show file and to load it.